Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of the Cycle Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa, and we have another special guest today. Heather is joining us. Thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're very grateful that you're here. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, anything and everything you want to share before we jump into your endo story?
All right. Yeah. My name is Heather. I am 36 years old. I have kind of been in Texas and California recently and starting to settle down more in California. I have a husband and a sweet little pug named Ringo, and love to be outside, go to the beach, hiking, and being with friends and family.
So fun. Oh, Ringo. Is that named after Ringo from the Beatles, Ringo?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Pugs are so cute. They're the cutest little personalities, I feel like, too.
Yes, he's very silly. He has a tongue that just hangs out all the time.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God. It's like, how can you like if you have a hard day at work or something, you come home and you see him, like, how could you not be just like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Like, he's so cute.
Oh yes, he's my emotional support animal for sure.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Okay, well, why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about like when things maybe started to feel off for you, or kind of the beginning of your story with endo?
Yeah, so I got my period when I was about 12 years old. I remember it was New Year's Day, and it wasn't too bad, maybe the first year. But I remember about like 7th and 8th grade, just really heavy periods. One of my main memories is I was in volleyball, just like crying, not wanting to go to practice, and just really struggling, always having a sweater with you at all times, just in case something were to happen. Luckily, once I was about 14, 15, my mom took me to the gynecologist, and I actually asked her the other day, because it was so long ago, I don't quite remember what happened, but I asked her if they brought up endometriosis at all, and she said they didn't say anything. They did an ultrasound and basically just told me your only option is birth control. So I did do that. I think I started off with one of them, and then I got on Yaz, and I was on that for quite a while.
And I remember that one. When you went though to see, were you saying like, I'm having a lot of pain, my cycle's really heavy, and they were like, birth control it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
I don't remember much other conversation. It was just like, this is the option. This is how we treat this.
Right.
So that did help. It made things a little bit more manageable, because then I got through high school and I got through college just pushing through, because I thought, okay, this is just normal. This is how it is for women, and right when I was about to get married, actually, like 2015, started just feeling nauseous all the time for no reason. Started having acid reflux, just having a lot of like stomach issues. And of course I go to the doctor and, they can't figure out what's going on. I got all the tests run. Your labs are normal. I got actually referred to a GI doctor, and they did an upper endoscopy, and all they saw was inflammation, and of course diagnosed me with IBS, which seems to be pretty common. Yeah, so I was told to go on a low FODMAP diet, and the one thing that did help, he told me to take fiber pills, which I haven't continued doing, but I have found that eating a lot of fiber does help a lot.
Okay, that's a good tip. So it helped with like the nausea and the acid reflux, do you feel like?
Yeah, I think it helps just digest your food more.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I have found that part of the issue is I have low stomach acid. I've worked with a nutritionist. So anything that helps digest your food more helps with the nausea and the acid reflux.
That's a really helpful tip. Yeah, that's definitely a helpful tip to have. Okay. And so they told you to go on this low FODMAP diet, and I'm assuming you tried that.
Yes, I tried that. Oh, the other thing he told me, because sometimes I just felt like I had a lump in my throat all the time. And he told me that was all in my head and that I might have to go on Prozac. And so that was not super helpful.
Oh my
But
goodness. Isn't
yeah,
that, again, I'm not a medical professional, but I feel like that's common with acid reflux. Like I've heard people say that.
yes. And that's when I looked online and stuff. That's what I was like, I think it's acid reflux. And he told me, um, so.
How old were you around this point?
Um, Definitely like mid-20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I was getting also a lot of UTIs and just, starting to have a lot of issues. At the same time, since I did have like a lump in my throat, they did do a thyroid ultrasound and I had several nodules, but they also told me that's just normal. And I had some elevated thyroid antibodies, but the doctor also just kind of dismissed that and didn't
Brushed
say
it
much
off.
about it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I kind of just continued to push through. I didn't do the low FODMAP forever. I feel like since then I've heard it's better to do an elimination diet and not just eat low FODMAP all the time forever.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so different for everyone. I don't know about you, but
Yes.
like I could eat that, but no matter where I am, like in my cycle and how I'm feeling, any food could bother me. It could be the most bland, plain thing that's low FODMAP, and it's still going to make me feel sick if I'm like really inflamed.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so it's hard. Like I could eat eggs some weeks, and some weeks I could eat eggs and I would feel really sick. Like I guess that's like one example that I have, and I'm just like, this makes no sense.
Yes, exactly. And I tried a lot of different diets. I think paleo was really popular at the time. And
Hmm.
I tried doing a bone broth fast, like anything that I could do to try to heal my stomach.
Yeah.
And of course, nothing worked. And I had no idea what was going on at the time. And the doctors couldn't figure it out. So,
Right. So at this point, you kind of went to like a few different doctors. You're still on the birth control, but now you're like, something's going on with my stomach. I'm not really sure. And you're trying all these different things. But at this point, obviously, you still don't have a connection that this is all connected.
yes. And
Yeah.
then one of my doctors said that my insurance was switching my birth control around because I was on the generic. And she said, technically, they only have to be a certain percentage alike. And so each month, if they're doing a different brand, that could cause issues. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm. So I switched to an IUD because then it was, they
You knew
can't
what
do
you were
that.
getting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I think that was really affecting my mood and things like that too.
For
Just
sure. And a lot of
feeling off.
people who I talk to that have, and myself included, who like tried birth control in like the early years, because that was always what was recommended. And it can help a little bit, but like the side effect side of it, really challenging.
Yes. Yeah. And so I pushed through.
So you
And
got the
this is,
IUD. How did you feel on that? Was it a hormonal one?
yes, it's Mirena.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, I mean, it was, I was not prepared for getting it inserted. That was probably the worst pain I've ever felt. But once it was in, it has been really helpful because I know it's different for everyone, but I have no period at all. And so, and I previously had been on birth control, since I was 15 years old. So I'm used to a lot of the side effects, I think.
Right.
And so it was pretty helpful once I did that. And we moved to California at that time. So it's like, okay, now I have time to get a new doctor and kind of figure things out and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So things were pretty stable for a few years. Again, I had stomach issues, but I pushed through. I continued to just have more and more like back issues and just all around kind of pain.
Yeah. And when you say like back issues, stomach issues, can you describe a little bit of the symptoms? Just because some people who are listening may be going through this very same thing. And I think sometimes it's really helpful to like explain it because it's, sometimes you're just like, oh, my back hurts, but then you notice it's like for a long time. Or so, yeah, tell me a little bit about the symptoms that you experienced with your back and your stomach.
Yeah, so with my stomach, mostly a lot of acid reflux in my throat. Sometimes my stomach just feels like it's on fire, like
Like
just
burning.
extremely, yeah, irritated. It's just very upset, um, really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of the acid reflux after I eat. Um,
Would
that's
you
mainly
feel
how,
almost like a burning, like kind of like coming up into your throat?
yes,
Got it.
yes.
And then would
Almost like
you
you,
then be nauseous after that because it's kind of like full circle?
and then it's stressful too, and that
Yeah.
doesn't help
Yeah, because you're
with
like, what
feeling
do I
nauseous.
do? Do I eat? Like if you don't eat, you're nauseous and you don't feel good. And if you do eat, it's like you have the acid reflux and you don't feel well. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I did find, so I make sure I eat enough fiber. I have to get like 30 grams of fiber a day.
How do you
I
do that?
also,
Like
a
what
lot
do
of
you,
vegetables,
okay,
fruits. In the morning, I have oatmeal with chia seeds and protein powder.
okay. Good tip.
It's that's big bulk of fiber right there. And I mostly track everything, eat a lot of like whole wheat bread and um, things like that.
And you
So,
say your goal is to try and get 30 grams. Did you work up to that? Or
um,
did you dive right in and just be like, here comes all the fiber?
I think it's recommended for women to eat 25 to 30.
Hmm.
And so I just, started with 25. And then just some days I ate more just based off of my diet,
Yeah.
because I was trying to eat more
Yeah.
and just have noticed that with
Feel
30, I
better.
feel much better.
Oh, that's really helpful. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then I take, there's actually supplements you can take that help increase your stomach acid. And that's something that has been extremely helpful as well.
Okay, good. And then you mentioned you started you're now on the IUD and you're like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better, but now I have like this back pain and you're probably still in your 20s and you're like, I'm in my 20s. Why am I having this back pain? Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
Yes. So I think I originally heard it working out, but then it just kind of never went away.
Hmm.
And it started out with the lower back and then it went to the upper back. And I'm also somebody that works in the office where I sit all day long.
Hmm.
And so it just, same thing, just very irritated, feels like it's on fire, like a dull pain sometimes. And, just have tried everything, physical therapy, so many things to try to get it to go away. And it's just been an issue. So,
Yeah. And did you notice like it would be worse during certain times, like where it would almost like flare up more and then get like a little bit better? Would you notice almost kind of like a cyclical?
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And everything I feel like is always worse with stress too. And I'm someone who, like, once I have symptoms, I stress out about it more. So,
Vicious
yeah.
cycle, right? Like it's almost like a vicious cycle. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what happened after? So you're starting to have this back pain. What happened after that? You're trying physical therapy, you're doing all these things. What happened next?
So I went to a lot of doctors. One of them put me on omeprazole for a while, which I think is a common acid reflux medication. But that actually lowers your stomach acid. And so then you also feel very bloated and constipated. And that was also not helpful. I mean, it helped with the acid reflux, but then there's just other things.
It like
So,
one thing helped, but then it's causing these other issues. Okay.
yes. And then while I was dealing with that, randomly one day, I started having a very sharp pain in the pelvic area on the left side to the point where I could barely walk. And I thought it was a UTI, mostly because, I mean, it hurt really bad. And then when I went to the bathroom, it hurt. And I went to, you can get those little at-home UTI tests. So I went and did that, and it showed that I had a UTI. And I was thinking, okay, that's what this is. Went to the doctor, and well, actually, I think they prescribed me antibiotics right away without doing anything.
Of course.
So I was like, great.
Yeah.
We'll get rid of this.
Yeah.
A week goes by. It felt better, but it didn't go away. And so I went to the doctor, and then they did an actual test, and they said, you don't have a UTI. At this point, I'm thinking, well, what could it be then?
Yeah. Like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm. And then I started having where I just felt like I had to go to the bathroom all of the time. So the pain felt a little bit better, but the urgency was pretty bad. And so I went to the doctor again. They right away said, oh, I think you have an overactive bladder. And at the time, she said it was from stress and diet. And I told them I eat really healthy. I track my fiber. I know I have stomach issues. It shouldn't be from my diet.
Right.
And I know I have stress, but, so they prescribed muscle relaxers, which helped, but then made me very loopy.
Yeah.
And I can't, do that every single day.
Right.
So it did get a little bit better. I didn't notice at the time, because I don't have a period, that it was cyclical.
The urgency. Yeah.
So it would switch sides each month.
The pain.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they referred me to a urologist because they thought it was an overactive bladder. That, I think, took 4 months to get an appointment. And in the meantime, they said, you can't have the 4 C's: no coffee, citrus, caffeine, or chocolate. Like anything that would irritate your bladder.
Oh,
which
no.
I'm sure any woman that has gone through the splatter stuff, I'm sure they were told that at some point. It's harder than you think when you go out to eat and things to stay away from. Like citrus, I feel like, is everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. And chocolate, sorry. If someone told me I couldn't have chocolate, like, I don't know if I can live without it. I probably should stop eating it, but I need like a piece of dark chocolate. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. So did you try this?
Yes, I did it for several months. Nothing got better. It minimally got better, but it's not like it went away. And
as you're going through this, were you like, my goodness, like, why is all of this happening to me?
Yes, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it's, you have all of the stomach issues, and then this, and I'm trying to manage that, and then this all comes up, and yes, it's very confusing.
Yeah. And just hard. Like, why are all these different things happening? I know I kind of went through that too. I'm like, my friends are all out, like going out, having fun. And I'm going to all these appointments trying to figure out why all of these different things aren't feeling well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a researcher, so I'm online, I'm on Reddit trying to figure it out. I have a binder full of tests and, all of my notes, bringing to multiple doctor's appointments all the time. It's a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So you do this diet for a few months, you get in to see this urologist. What happens next?
Well, so before I went to see the urologist, I went to the gynecologist because, I don't know, I was just feeling, now I think the word is inflamed. At the time, I don't think I understood what it was. It just felt terrible.
Yeah.
And so I had talked to some friends who said, maybe you should get your IUD taken out because sometimes that can cause issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and I was ready to get it taken out. They talked me out of it. They did a ultrasound and said, it's in the right place. It should be fine. And I told them where my pain was. And they said, that is not pelvic pain. That's higher up than where your ovary is. And basically told me that was not related to anything gynecological, and that, I need to go to the urologist and just see what they say. And so, they talked me into keeping it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did, though. I think I've heard you say before, when you go to the doctor, sometimes you get more information. So they used the word pelvic pain. And I went home and Googled that, and endometriosis came up right away.
I have chills. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that could definitely be what I have.
Once you started to see all the symptoms, were you like, okay, some of this is coming together now?
Yes. And so I, did a lot of research. I believe that's when I found your podcast. Yeah. And that's when I started listening. And then I start looking at my notes and I'm seeing that all of the pain that I've had is 1 month apart.
Oh
The
my
flare ups,
goodness.
at least. There's definitely pain in between.
Yeah.
So that
Wow.
was helpful to see. And it was like, okay, this is definitely what's happening.
Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you for mentioning the podcast and that help. That really does mean so much to me. Okay, so what did you're starting to kind of piece it all together now. What do you do?
So I tried to find a different gynecologist that a friend had recommended. So I made an appointment with them, but it was in the future. So I did go to the urologist appointment just to see what they said.
Yeah.
Because I was also kind of naive at the time, thinking like, well, maybe they would understand how endometriosis affects your bladder.
Yeah.
But they basically they did a few tests and said your bladder's totally fine. And when I asked about endometriosis, they said it's really rare to be on your bladder.
Wow. Wow. I guess the positive of that appointment was at least you could rule out that there wasn't something going on with the bladder. Like at least you were a little more armed to go back to these other doctors and be like, it's actually not an overactive bladder,
Yes, for sure. It's,
I can't believe they said it was rare.
Yeah, it's hard when you don't get answers, but you're right. Ruling things out is helpful. So
it is helpful. It still is, though. I mean, obviously, I want to acknowledge it is so challenging. And especially when you're like sitting in this room, and it's not all doctors, but with some professionals that you really look up to, and you're like you've been waiting a month to get into this appointment or 2 months or whatever, and you get kind of brushed off. It is so disheartening. I can't tell you how many times I left an appointment and like sat in my car and cried.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, it's so hard. I mean, you're like, okay, at least I know it's not that, but then now I'm still out here. What is it? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So I went to the other gynecologist. They were a little bit more helpful. They did say that the pain that I'm feeling is ovulation pain. And I think she said IUDs don't block ovulation, but birth control does. So her recommendation was to go on birth control on top of my IUD.
Oh boy.
And yeah, I think I had also gone to my primary care doctor in between, and they said, well, if it is endometriosis, they just open you up and then there's nothing they can do. They just confirm you have it and then that's it.
Oh my gosh. And this is like within the past however many years, like we're supposed to have more advanced information. I'm so sorry. How disappointing. All of this like misinformation, old themes and myths. Oh my goodness. So you do the birth control on top of the IUD?
No, because I think I had listened to your podcast. I had done the research. I knew that was not the answer. She did get me an MRI, but of course nothing showed up on that. And at the time I was in an HMO insurance. And so I could only go to certain doctors within that insurance. So this was, I think, it was starting to get towards the end of the year, like around October. My insurance came up for renewal December 1st. So I'm very grateful through my company that I could switch to a PPO. So basically I just had to switch to the PPO. And then I researched all of the doctors on Nancy's Nook and found one that was somewhat close by. I think it was maybe an hour and a half away.
Were you in California still? Because I know you said you split your time. Yeah. Oh, I feel like Thank goodness, because I feel like there's probably a lot in California compared to some other states, unfortunately.
Yes, there were a lot, and some of them in LA didn't take insurance. Some weren't taking new patients. So I ended up going to Riverside, California, which was, like I said, an hour and a half away. I think I did my first appointment as a phone consultation, though, so that was helpful.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, but it's so crazy just how big of a difference having a good doctor makes, because she right away said, yes, I think you have this. And I'm so sorry for everything you've been through. And, let's move forward with doing an ultrasound. She actually said, because I asked if she wanted to see, a copy of my MRI. And she said, with a really good ultrasound tech who knows what they're doing and is looking for endometriosis, it can actually be much better than an MRI.
I've been
So,
hearing more of that. I know there's like a mixed opinion on that, but I've heard that too. And I mean, that would be really helpful if we could get more advancement there. Okay. So this sounds like it was a great conversation. And so I'm sure you set up getting the ultrasound done.
yes. So I got the ultrasound done. I think it was a little bit after the holidays. And then I had a follow-up appointment. It didn't show anything exactly indicative, but there were a few things that did maybe indicate it could be endometriosis. And she right away said, we have options, but we can do the excision surgery. And so I right away wanted to move forward with that. And she was actually really nice, because the insurance was potentially not going to contract with their hospital anymore. So she fit me in very quickly. I ended up having the surgery January 30th.
Wow. So that was a quick turnaround for you to get used to having a procedure too, but so kind of her to get that done so you could be covered. What a great doctor.
Yes. She was wonderful, especially after years of
Just,
so many other doctors.
I mean, when you got off that initial phone call with her, were you just like, oh my gosh, I'm validated? At that point, you probably were like, all of the bowel and the bladder and all of these things, like
Yes.
it's all connected.
Yes. It was really, hard to describe, but even after the surgery, it's almost, they said they removed areas that they thought were endometriosis, but, they don't want to say it's that until they get the pathology back. But so it's almost like hard to believe until you get that report and you're like, okay, I am validated.
Yeah. And I'm really happy that you mentioned that you had an MRI and nothing showed on that, because I know so many people go through that same experience and then they're like, well, I guess I might not have it, or I guess, and it's just not accurate. I'm sure you're about to tell in the pathology, like you're waiting for it to show up on that. But that's such a challenge, is because sometimes it doesn't show up. And I feel like then people are very discouraged. And then how did everything go?
It went pretty well. Obviously, it took a little bit of time to recover, but it did really help. Like all of my bladder issues basically went away. I still have the IUD, so that is something I need to get taken out at some point. So I'm hoping that goes well when that happens.
Yeah,
Since I've
right.
had
Yeah. But overall, you're feeling much better.
yes,
Good.
I did start to have some other issues after that. And it was basically, trying to think of how to say this. It started with a leg injury. I went to pelvic floor PT and I was stretching, and all of a sudden my leg just was on fire. And
Yeah.
it's something that actually before I had the surgery, I did have a little bit of like pulling on my knee. That sounded a little weird, but I've actually seen other women say that they've had that issue too. So I haven't really found a doctor that has told me why that is happening, but my PT said maybe I overstretched a nerve. And so that was after the surgery. And then I started having a lot of other issues with like nerve pain, numbness, headaches. And so that was a whole other journey of going to many doctors and finally finding out that I also have Hashimoto's, which I tried to tell doctors that a lot of women that have endometriosis have other conditions. And they all looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah. It's
But
pretty
yeah,
crazy because similar, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's a couple years after my endo diagnosis because I was still struggling with things. And you said even earlier when they tested your thyroid that it had the antibodies. And that was so many years previous.
yes. And then recently, the antibodies weren't elevated. And so I think I've seen online it's called seronegative Hashimoto's, where 10% of people that have it, it doesn't show antibodies. Um,
Interesting.
yes, but I got another thyroid ultrasound, and one of the nodules was much bigger. So they did a biopsy, and then that showed Hashimoto's.
That's very helpful information though for people who are listening because I think also Hashimoto's is very underdiagnosed and it is very common in people with endometriosis. And
Yes.
it's kind of one of those diseases too that I feel like I don't want to say hides, but it does. It kind of like manifests itself in different ways, like you said, with the migraines and things like that. Yeah. And that you had to have a biopsy to actually confirm it. Are
Yes,
you
it was.
taking medication for it now? Are you on a thyroid medication?
Yes. So that was the other thing too with I was going to the doctor and they all said my labs were normal. I ended up going to an integrative doctor and they have different ranges for what's normal and or what's optimal is what they like to say. So
Yeah.
I'm on thyroid medication, a couple of other medications that help with um, inflammation. I think low dose naltrexone is getting pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just started recently a microdose of a GLP-1, which I think is becoming more common with chronic conditions and helping with inflammation.
I've
And
heard of all of
I've,
it. Yeah, I haven't personally tried this, but have you noticed? Are you feeling better? Are you doing the LDN and the microdose GLP-1? You're doing both, and are you noticing a difference?
yes, it's definitely helped with inflammation. I started with the low dose naltrexone first,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't fully clear things up. The other thing I'm doing that I think has been really helpful is just working on my stress. I actually found this psychologist called Nicole Sachs. She has a book called Mind Your Body that I read, and it basically is chronic symptoms are sometimes not just physical and they're connected to stress, a dysregulated nervous system, repressed emotions. And a lot of what she recommends is journaling and meditation. So I started doing that and that helped a lot. I almost saw more progress from that than the low dose naltrexone, I would say. And
That's
the
that's great. Do what you said, like the journaling and meditation, because I feel like sometimes we're on the go, go, go. Even we don't feel good, we feel like we have to keep pushing, and sometimes we need to just rest.
yes, that is exactly how I feel. Like a perfectionist, people pleaser. I'm very, I can really stress myself out very easily. And it's hard, your body can't heal if you are chronically stressed.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I've found a lot of help with that. I actually have been working with a chronic pain and stress coach,
Okay.
and they've helped me with just a lot of tools to help even just lower the fear around your symptoms. Because I'm the type, if I have a flare, I will spiral and, just really stress out about it. And that does not help.
Well, I feel
So
like it's so hard because again, I go back to this like it's a vicious cycle. So like I feel like we probably are more stressed because we've had a lot of trauma because we've been gaslit or told that our symptoms weren't real. People in the world don't believe us because they can't see the illness like a broken arm or something like that. So that's hard. You feel like you're constantly like either hiding it or trying to explain it. Then you have all these symptoms and you might be in a place, like you said, you always had a sweater with you, might be in a place where you're uncomfortable or nervous because you don't know what's going to happen next. So then it's like you're back in this like stress circle because, and this still kind of happens to me sometimes. I travel a lot for work and I have a like my kit, whatever. I have something with me all the times. But when I start to not feel well, I go back into that cycle because I'm like, what if something happens? What if I'm alone? What if no one will help me? What if I pass out? And I go down exactly what you're saying. Like I just start to go into a spiral about it because those things have happened to me before and I just don't want it to happen again. So it's hard because it's like, yes, I want to manage my stress and figure out how to keep myself calm, but there's this uncertainty always in the background of something I can't control because I don't know what's going to happen. All I can do is try and be the best prepared that I can if something happens.
Yes, for sure.
So hard. It's so hard. I mean, as you mentioned stress, I just want to mention this, like I recently got an Oura ring. It's been actually 1 year since I've gotten an Oura ring. And it's really helped me. And whatever, it's not supporting the show, though. That would be a miracle if Aura would support the show or whatever. But if someone wants one, I think I have a discount code. I don't even know how it works. Honestly, I'm not here to sell it, but I love it because it shows me my sleep, my stress, my temperature fluctuations, if I'm like feeling inflamed, whatever. And it's helped. I think the biggest thing that it's helped me do is it gets to know you and your body. It's helped me give myself permission to rest more.
Yes, I've used one before,
Yeah.
and I really like it. And it did tell me slow down today.
Yes. Where normally, if I didn't have that, even though I should know like how to gauge and be like, you should rest today, having it almost helps me be like, I need to give myself permission today, or maybe I'm not going to do XYZ and I'm going to take it easy. Where before I had it, I would just push through no matter what.
Yes.
So that has been very helpful for me for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So you're working on your stress, you're feeling better. What other tips or tricks or anything else that you want to share with the community that you've been doing that have helped?
So the other thing with the slowing down, I have started yoga, and I specifically like yin yoga because it's basically just holding stretches, which before I never probably would have wanted to do because it is really slow and you have to just, but it's really nice and calming. And there's this app called it's Down Dog. And I think I got it during a New Year's special. And so it wasn't super expensive, but you can put in what type of yoga you want to do and the amount of time. So even if it's 10 minutes, and then it puts together a custom, just little video. And I love that. The other thing I want to say is I also had a therapist the whole time going through this. And these days you can find online, because I know sometimes it's more expensive, but
Yeah.
I have always been able to find one through my insurance. And even recently, I just Googled one that specializes in chronic illnesses. And it has I couldn't have gotten through this without them. So I think that was extremely helpful to just have somebody who talks to many other women. And even sometimes I would tell her things and she'd say, can I tell my other clients that? And she would give me advice too. And not like medical advice, but just,
Sure.
That was extremely helpful as well. And it's more accessible these days with being able to do everything online.
Yeah, for sure. And just sometimes I think having just like that unbiased person, because like people in your life, they love you. And so they just like want to give you some advice sometimes, but it might not be the best advice. And I don't know, for me, sometimes it's like maybe even hard admitting how bad things are to the people I love because I don't
Yeah.
want them to worry about me. But like an unbiased third party person, you can just be like, blah, 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 you know?
Yes, and it's hard for people to really understand if they haven't gone through this or known someone or been close with somebody who's gone through this. So definitely really helpful to have someone to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. I think it's definitely made me in like my work life a more empathetic person. Like if someone's like, I'm struggling through this or I have a migraine or something like that, I would say in my earlier years, I might have been like, oh, great. Now I'm like, I totally understand. I get it. What can I do to help like serve you to make sure you feel better? Where if I probably hadn't experienced this, and I know like other people who haven't, they probably, oh, Melissa doesn't feel good again today. It's hard for them to understand. They've never been through it. Not that that makes it okay, though. Like everybody needs to have empathy and understanding and meet people where they are. Everybody has things going on in their lives. So, yeah. Okay. Those tips are very helpful. And I'm so glad that you brought up LDN because I have been hearing a lot more about that and people microdosing the GLP-1. And I've only heard actually on both of those very positive things. So, and meditation and yoga and journaling and talking to someone, all of those things I think are very helpful for sure. Any other tips or tricks or things you want to add or tell everyone?
I've also worked with a nutritionist. That was very helpful as well. Not that you have to do it all the time, but just getting like a few tips and tricks on, like I said, the supplements that help with digestion and things like that. That was definitely something that I've used going forward. Not that you have to have one all the time, but
And the
just
fiber. That's a really good, and I've heard that before, and I actually have interviewed a nutritionist on the show and worked with one for a little bit too that had endo, and same thing with the fiber. Like it's sometimes I feel like people think of the fiber like the commercials you see or whatever, or like mixing in like a powder or whatever into water. But I think that's a really great point that you brought up, trying to just increase that and how it's helped your stomach.
yes, so helpful.
And there's I think it's Heather's tummy fiber is what was recommended to me. Like if you happen to be on the go or you're traveling or maybe you're in a spot where you can't control, there's like little travel packets that help.
Oh, interesting. That's good to know because I do feel like traveling is the hardest.
Very hard. Very hard. Less controllables, right? Like you're out of your element a little bit. So it is harder. But I always too recommend, like I said, I do travel often for work. Like I travel with snacks. Like people probably look in my bag and they're like, wow, like I have my snacks. But when I get somewhere, if I'm able to, like if I'm have a car or whatever, I do try to go to the grocery store or I have like ordered groceries to my room as
That's a
long as
good
you have a
idea too.
fridge. But sometimes like you get in a hotel room and there's no fridge. You can call and request a fridge though too. So just some of the things I've learned along the way.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
yeah. Okay, well good. Heather, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about your story and sharing a lot of helpful things that you've done that have.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're really grateful that you came on to share your endo story today with us. And before we wrap up, anything else you want to add?
I think so.
Okay.
Just happy to be here. It was really helpful when I was going through this. So I hope that this can help other women.
It definitely will help others. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you, listeners, for listening and supporting the show. I appreciate you so much. If the show has helped you, please give us a quick like on YouTube, subscribe, thumbs up, or on Spotify or Apple. If you want to write a review or even just give us some stars, I would be very grateful. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here and take care of yourselves.